Hello again. Hello. Hello again. I come from a family of lounge singers. Hello. The Trigiani girls always sang alto and sometimes tenor when they ran out of tenors. Good evening. Welcome to the library. Isn't it good to be back in the library? Welcome to the Literary Awards, our signature event. I am here because I have the pleasure of serving as the chair of the Foundation Board of Directors. My name is Pia Trigiani, and my role this evening, I have several things that I'm asked to do tonight, is to share a little bit of information about the work of the library, the talented librarians, archivists, historians who dedicate themselves to preserving and sharing the treasures that reflect Virginia's rich history and culture. To express thanks to our supporters, encourage more of you to become supporters, and then to get this annual celebration of Virginia authors underway. We have many people to thank for producing this celebration, but before we do, a brief commercial, if you will allow, about the library and the Library of Virginia Foundation. The Library of Virginia will soon celebrate 200 years as the keeper of the treasures of the Commonwealth. And no, neither Sandy Treadway or I were there at the beginning. Although she has given many years to this great institution. A comprehensive collection that we have here of print and manuscript materials that document the history, culture, and government of Virginia. The library is known across the country and internationally as one of the best sources for genealogical research. We are the home to the working papers of Virginia governors, circuit court records. Those of us who are lawyers really get charged up about that. Virginia books and related publications, interesting collections like community cookbooks. I love a good junior league cookbook. If they can cook it, so can I. And yearbooks from across the Commonwealth, high schools, secondary schools, and our colleges and universities. Vital records, and one thing that a lot of people don't know, the state art collection. Those are just a few of what we have here. And perhaps one of our biggest and most important functions is that we're the glue that connects the network of Virginia Public Libraries, 325 total, from Virginia Beach to Big Stone Gap, the Lonesome Pine Library. Yay! The foundation is a separate tax-exempt organization that raises support for the library, for timely exhibits like you'll see here along the walls and in our special space behind the stairs, wonderful programs, and preservation of the special treasures that are entrusted to the care of the library. One of the more recent ones that's pretty cool are the manuscripts and working papers of noted Virginia son Earl Hamner, who created the Waltons. This year, as an example, on behalf of the library, we sought funding and received a grant to digitize over 250,000 World War II separation notices. That work will allow public access to those records because most of them were destroyed in a fire in Missouri. The library has, like many other institutions, taken advantage of technology to connect with our patrons. Our website is robust, expanded almost weekly with access to many new resources. The result is that the Library of Virginia reaches over 4 million people each year through in-person and virtual programs and resources. While the library is a state institution, the ability to serve the Commonwealth is becoming more reliant on charitable gifts every day. A combination of careful stewardship of state tax dollars, and I have to commend our able library staff, which is which is and continues to be great stewards of that, and decades-old budget cuts from which the library has never fully recovered, but those have significantly impacted library operations. Contributions from library patrons, people like you who love and support libraries, are increasingly important and essential. I'm grateful to lead a board that understands the importance of ensuring that the library can continue to provide important services. The work of our board is focused on increasing support for the library. Sandy Gioia Treadway, she's Italian, is an inspired leader. We are grateful for her work, particularly her skill at doing more with less. She's a supportive partner of the Foundation Executive Director, Scott Dodson, and his team. Where are you, Scott? He's everywhere. There you are. Hey, Scott. And I know we have a number of our library and Library Foundation board members present. Our the library board is led by Paul Brockwell. Where are you, Paul? The library board is appointed by the governor, while the foundation board is self-governing. Members from both boards come from every corner of the Commonwealth and represent stakeholder groups who benefit from and love the library. If members of both boards would stand so that we can recognize you and express our appreciation for your work. While the library's leadership and staff daily rise to the challenge of finding new ways to serve Virginians, under Scott's leadership, the foundation is focused on cultivating much-needed financial support for the library's important work. I, for one, have never felt more motivated to support this exceptional institution. We have had the generous support from a growing cadre of loyal library fans, and we are incredibly grateful to tonight's lead sponsors, Amazon. I think you're right here, Amazon. There they are. And Dominion Energy. Joining them also as literary award sponsors are Atlantic Union Bank, Blue Edge Capital. You know, we're Blue Edge Capital. Mercer Trigiani, the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, our dearest Carol and Marcus Weinstein, and the libraries of William and Mary. Thank you also to my good friend Jack Catlett and Kathy Spong, Lou and Jill Marmo, Joseph Papa and J.S. Fauquet, Steve and Kathy Rogers, our past president, Steve, I saw you back there. There you are, now author, and Catherine Neville. Thank you, Catherine. Just a few more thank yous. First, to our amazing Literary Awards Committee, and in particular, our committee co-chairs, Joseph Papa and Jordana Kaufman. I saw you earlier. And a special nod to our host for this evening, my sister, younger sister. She'll make sure to let you know that, I'm sure. Adriana Maria Trigiani. And she works closely with Joseph and Jordana and Scott on this program, so thank you. In addition to Scott, Elaine McFadden, and Catherine LeBoy on our foundation staff have made this evening very special. And David Wilson and the library's facilities teams, and George Salgado at Eventful, who's prepared this beautiful meal for us. Thank you very much. And our judges, who read and evaluated our nominees, over 110 nominations this year. Without their Herculean efforts, we would not have our finalists and winners this evening. And last but not least, the talented authors that bring us together, the Virginia authors whose great work, sharing their hearts, souls, and thoughts with us, make our lives richer. Their talent cheers and sustains us. Thank you. On behalf of all of us at the Library of Virginia, we thank our supporters and our library patrons, citizens of the Commonwealth whom we serve. It is now my pleasure to introduce our great librarian, Sandra Joya Treadway. Sandy is an accomplished leader, an author in her own right of a book called Women of Mark, A History of the Women's Club of Richmond, Virginia, and she's also co-edited a 2-volume set called Virginia Women, Their Lives and Times. In addition to her work as the librarian, she serves on several commissions. She is clearly our go-to historian for the Commonwealth. She's often called, and our staff, I know John Metz is here. John, it's nice to see you too. They're called upon to answer these very obscure and interesting questions, and they always deliver and always come back with a great piece of information. They are truly remarkable. Sandy also serves on the Virginia Freedom of Information Council and was a very big proponent and advocate and participant in the development of the Women's Memorial that's on the Capitol grounds. She is a great leader, and we are so lucky to have her here, and I would like to bring her up so she can have a few words. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for your support of the library and these great authors that we celebrate this evening. I didn't say anything bad.
So that's what you get when you tell Pia, I don't need an introduction. But thank you, Pia. That was from your heart, I know. And good evening, everyone. I am delighted to echo Pia's very warm welcome to you to the 25th Annual Virginia Literary Awards celebration and affirm how fantastic it is to be back in person again, especially to see so many friends of the library here who've attended this event so often in the past. Your presence, your support enables this gala to continue to be, and I think I'm telling the truth here, the premier literary event in the Commonwealth. See? The library takes great joy in promoting the works of Virginia authors, not just tonight, but throughout the whole year. And we are especially proud of the role that we play in the creation of new literary works by Virginians and about Virginia. Many past nominated nonfiction works, more than a few novels, and a surprising number of collections of poetry have actually been the product of research conducted here in the library's amazing collection of books, newspapers, manuscripts, public records, and electronic resources. Without writers, the insights and stories contained in the collections that we keep and preserve would remain hidden. So tonight, we salute all those who use libraries and archives such as ours, and then share their discoveries with the world through the written word. And now comes, for me, the very best part of the evening, because it is my great pleasure to introduce our host for our program this evening, the incomparable Adriana Trigiani. Yes. Adri returns tonight. Oh, I got more, honey. I got more, honey. Adri returns tonight for her 18th year as host for this event.
18 years?
Yeah. She was a baby. She was a baby. But I can't imagine the literary awards without her.
Did you introduce me to come up, Sandy, or I just
Yes.
barrel up here?
Yes. Beloved by millions of readers around the world, she is the New York Times best-selling author of 20 works of fiction and nonfiction, among them Big Stone Gap, Very Valentine, The Shoemaker's Wife, and her most recent work, The The Good Left Undone, which, by the way, you can buy in the shop and get signed tonight. She's a playwright, a television writer and producer, a filmmaker, and she is a friend and a mentor to so many writers. And she's the co-founder of the Origin Project, where she inspires students, young people, to find their voices and their confidence through writing. Adriana grew up in Big Stone Gap, the southwestern region of our state, and although her home is now in New York City, her heart and her soul will always belong to Virginia. So ladies and gentlemen, give the warmest welcome to the one and the only Adriana Trigiani.
I love you. I love it. I love it. Oh, please, please, I don't need all that applause. I really feel like I've come out of the mothballs after COVID, don't you? I mean, we haven't been anywhere, done anything, and here we are. So, listen, times are so tough, I turned to Lieutenant Josh Duncan back behind that curtain, and I said, have you ever written comedy? And he said, not really. I said, well, you are now. I said, because I need an opening joke. And he came up with a great one, so I'm going to do it now, okay? Can everybody hear me all right? Well, listen, I haven't tried it out in public, but that's all right. Okay, so he said, why don't you recreate the slap from the Oscars? And so I said, well, now all of a sudden I can't find anybody in my family to hit me. And then I realized I had my sisters here, who, you know them as Mary and Pia, but I know them as Floyd Mayweather and Tyson Fury. That's pretty good, right? Well, it's gonna get better. Long as you keep drinking, the funnier I get. All right. So here's the story. Virginia. Why do we love Virginia so very, very much? When you look at these books tonight, really in all seriousness, this is, I think, perhaps one of the most beautiful collection of nominees we have ever had in the history of these awards. Each book is a diamond, and I'm going to encourage you to get your holiday shopping done afterwards and get signatures in these books, and you will have them forever. When I think of Virginia, the first thing I think of, and even when I land in Richmond, and I'm going through these beautiful streets, and I see the gardens and the window boxes, and everything's painted and pretty, and little lights twinkling, I just think of my mother and the garden club. Yes, the garden clubs. Anybody a member of the garden club here? Are you? Do we have one? What's your table? It's okay. 1, 2. Table 10? Are you? What's your garden club? Can you just shout out what the name of your garden club is? Green Thumb, Dogwood, what is it? Richmond proper? Okay. Anyway, used to say about my mother's garden club, well, you need to know the truth. They were very beautiful women, and they were beautifully turned out for all their events, and then they would compete with each other. And those ladies, there's not a one of them that wouldn't cut you. So, or beat you to death with a trowel, one or the other, okay? But other than the garden club competition, they were very elegant ladies, too. But I thought, next time, we're in a big war, we should just send the Dogwood Garden Club, and then we'd win like in 2 hours, if it's my mother and her friends. That's Virginia to me. Strong women, great books, the Library of Virginia, and the beauty of the Virginia people. So we're going to start with those people. We're going to begin with the People's Choice Award. Now, these represent readers across the Commonwealth choose these winners. And the finalists are selected by the librarians. We also engage the independent booksellers and the staff of the Library of Virginia. The winners in both categories are chosen by online voting through the Library of Virginia website. So if you voted, thank you, because it's important. So now to present the 2022 Library of Virginia Literary People's Choice Award for Nonfiction, we have Senior Vice President, Regulatory Affairs and Customer Service, and Library of Virginia Foundation Board Member, Corinne Arnett. Come on up, Corinne. Corinne is a knockout.
Oh, what an act to follow, my goodness. Well, good evening. It is such an honor to be with you and to be in person. It's been too long, and this is just wonderful. The partnership between Dominion Energy and the Library of Virginia goes back a long way. This is our 14th year that we've been honored to sponsor the Literary Awards this evening. And for more than 10 years, we have joined forces to celebrate the inspiring contributions of African American leaders through our Strong Men and Women in Virginia History Awards. At Dominion Energy, we provide light and warmth, and those are vitally important in the literal sense. But those who are with us tonight, however, provide light and warmth in a much broader sense. Through painstaking research, deep wisdom, and sheer beauty, the authors we celebrate tonight strengthen the very sinews of civilization. They create works that sustain people, their minds, their spirits, in dark times and good. Along the way, they inspire others to go forth and create their own exquisite literary works in turn. And I can't think of a more noble calling, and I'm honored to be in the presence tonight of those who practice it. Now, I have the additional pleasure of presenting this year's People's Choice in Nonfiction Award. The finalists include books that celebrate women and their leadership, tell the stories about how the Founding Fathers and the slave trade both shaped the United States, and offer advice from at least one unlikely, mustachioed, pseudo-goth hero. I know, that's hard to get out. Okay, the nominees are The Words That Made Us by Akhil Reed Amar, Hoe for Your Problems, Uncommon Advice from History's Least Likely Self-Help Guru by Catherine Babb Magura, Going There by Katie Couric, The Girls Who Stepped Out of Line, Untold Stories of the Women Who Changed the Course of World War II by Mary Kay Etter, Liberty is Sweet, The Hidden History of the American Revolution by Woody Holton, Travels with George, In Search of Washington and His Legacy by Nathaniel Philbrick. And finally, The Ledger and the Chain, How Domestic Slave Traders Shaped America by Joshua D. Rothman. And the winner is Mary Kay Etter, The Girls Who Stepped Out of Line. Untold Stories of the Women Who Shaped the Course of World War II. Come on up.
Come on up. Mary, we thought you weren't here.
I know.
Teasing you. Another beauty. They're a little treacherous. You look like you love me. Look at this beautiful, you're gonna love this. Is it chocolate? No, it's crystal.
Oh, and now you want me to talk?
Yes, please.
I'd like to thank the Academy. Oh, wait. Thank you so much for this award. One of the things I learned early on in my life is the importance of libraries. When I was a kid, the only thing in my hometown we had was a library. Not the public library, there wasn't one. Not a school library, there wasn't one. There were two teachers who ran a library out of their home. And we kids went there every Saturday. That was my life. And that was where I learned about the power of story and telling stories. And I have been so privileged to tell these stories about incredible people, not women, people, who stood out in World War II, who stepped up, who made a difference, who made a change because they could. And because they wanted to do their part. They didn't do it to be popular. They didn't do it to create a movement. They did it because they wanted to make a difference. And because of what they did, all of us are here today. Thank you.
Beautiful. Perfect. Perfect. You know, do you say Mary or Marie? Mari. But really, what do you? It's Mary Kay. Oh, all right. That's right. I see the K. Mary Catherine. Are you Catholic, Mary? Are you Catholic? You know how I could tell? Because you won, and for a moment, you just thought it wasn't true. I think you question things a lot. The truth is, your book is phenomenal, okay? And I'm thrilled to see, you know, and for those of us on the other side in the fiction category, we rely on you. And you know, what you did is a pretty monumental piece of work because, as you all know, half of history as we know it is missing because there's no women in it. So that's 50%'s already gone. But great artists like Mary and her ilk are bringing it all together for us, so thank you. Beautiful. And if I could just say a few comments about the other books, because the other books are incredible too. The Words That Made Us. Is Akil here? Where's Akil? Is he here? I'm not going to ask everybody if you're here because people are eating, and you know, I know when I'm eating, really, I have a priority. Going There by Katie Kirk, we're going to hear from her. Terrific book. Liberty is Sweet, The Hidden History of the American Revolution, Woody Holt, and he's one of our favorites here. Every few years he comes out with a barn burner. I highly recommend it. Don't you, Sandra? That's a good book. Travels with George in Search of Washington and His Legacy, Nathaniel Philbrick, he's one of our greats. The Ledger and the Chain, How Domestic Slave Traders Shaped America, Joshua D. Rothman, another great one. So you have a wide swath of history to read when you go home tonight. All right. We want to recognize our esteemed judges for this year's awards. Now, can you imagine reading everything? And that's what they do. So in nonfiction, get this, 110 nominations this year. That's a lot of books. In nonfiction, we have Megan Shockley. Is she here? Would you stand, please, so we can see what judges look like? Because we have no idea. Megan Shockley, Mark Leapson. Are you here, Mark? Mark? Now, Mark looks like a judge. Mark looks like somebody I would confess my worst sin to. He's got that demeanor. John Kukla. Are you here, John? John. Beautiful. You're fantastic. And you dressed, and I love it. All right, in fiction, Christine A. Patrick. Are you here, Christine? Oh, well, I don't know. Where is she? In the bathroom? Okay. Janet Peary. Ann Westrick. Is Ann here? All right, girls. We'll get you back here next year. In poetry, we have Michael Chetwood. Michael, are you here? The poets are we always have the poets. Poets, are they the greatest people in the world? But it's the worst career anyone could choose, isn't it? There's nothing worse than being a poet. Maybe being an actor, That's almost as bad. But poet, Ran Walker. Is Ran here? And how about Jennifer Razor Wicker? Is Jennifer here? Jennifer. Jennifer's all the way in the back. Jennifer must have been a late responder. That's where we put them. That's how we do it at an Italian wedding. You better get that card in. You don't get these seats. You're back there. Okay. Could you please give all our fantastic judges a big round of applause? This evening is going so well, I'm feeling very free now. So we're going to have a very free exchange. So let's bring her on up. Tonight's prize for People's Choice in Fiction, the Amazon's head of Virginia Public Policy. Now there's a title that I like. Lindsay Winter. Lindsay. Now it's starting to look like the Academy Awards up here.
Thank you. Well, good evening. Amazon is proud to call Virginia home. We are committed to making a positive impact in the communities where more than 30,000 of our employees and their families live and work. Through the Amazon Literary Partnership, this year, Amazon awarded 74 grants, totaling more than $1 million to organizations across the country focused on supporting writers. And for the fourth year in a row, we are also supporting grants through the Literary Magazine Fund and the Poetry Fund. Each of these funds will award dozens of grants to exciting and vital literary magazines and poetry organizations. It is my honor to introduce the People's Choice Award for Fiction. The nominees for this year's People's Choice Award in Fiction include tales of overcoming racism and homophobia. They also tell the stories of star-crossed lovers in the age of jazz, coming of age during World War II, and deceit and murder during the scariest of events, suburban Halloween. The People's Choice fiction finalists are Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, Yellow Wife by Sadiqa Johnson, My Monticello by Jocelyn Nicole Johnson, Rhapsody by Mitchell James Kaplan, The Mother Next Door by Tara Laskowski, The Matzo Ball by Jean Meltzer, All the Little Hopes by Leah Weiss, and the winner is Sadiqa Johnson for Yellow Wife. Unfortunately, Ms. Johnson is unable to join us this evening, but she was able to send this video message.
Good evening. My name is Sadiqa Johnson, and I am the author of Yellow Wife. It is with enormous gratitude that I accept this award from the Library of Virginia, the People's Choice Award. I mean, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude, and I thank you all so much. I want to thank all of the people across the state who voted for Yellow Wife, who have read and supported Yellow Wife. I want to thank my fellow nominees as we are all out here working hard to lift up the name Virginia in our stories, and we're telling unique stories that need to be told. When I was standing in my kitchen in Springfield, New Jersey in 2015, I heard a voice that said, "Move." And I wasn't quite sure what that meant. I didn't know where it was going to take me. I ended up in Richmond, Virginia. We didn't know anyone. We didn't move for a job, but it was just a feeling that I was supposed to be here. And 9 months later, I was on the Richmond Slave Trail and I discovered the amazing story of Mary Lumpkin. And so Yellow Wife was born out of this trip. And, sometimes I wonder, like, what was it that was calling me here? And I realized that it was my ancestors. My maternal grandmother is from Amherst County, Virginia. My husband's family is from Nelson County. And so I believe that our ancestors were really working hard to get me back here so that I could tell these stories and amplify the voices of those who had no voice. And so it is with a great honor and privilege that I thank you from the bottom of my heart for loving this story, for reading this story, for sharing it with your friends. And I'm just so grateful. I have to thank my wonderful agents, Sharice Fisher and Wendy Sherman, my beautiful family who supported me on this crazy journey of picking up and moving states and planting seeds and roots here, my husband and my 3 children, and all of the people who support me, the book clubs, and I'm just so wonderfully grateful. And I thank you so much for this opportunity. And I really wish I could be there with you guys. It just happens to fall on the same weekend as my family reunion. And I'm going to meet with my 90-year-old great uncle so that I could get some information for the new book that I'm writing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Well, that was exciting. Every single novel this year is a home run. I mean, fiction, because in there we also have a little short story novella action too. Razor Blade Tears, read it. Yellow Wife, you heard from our author, it's incredible. My Monticello, fiction. Jocelyn Nicole Johnson, Rhapsody. The Mother Next Door. Tara Lazowski, Mitchell James Kaplan wrote Rhapsody. The Matzo Ball, Jean Meltzer. I hope she's writing Matzo Ball too. All the Little Hopes, Leah Weiss. I mean, just beautiful. Now we're going to move on to, I know y'all know Mary Lynn Kotz, but I find her completely inspirational and aspirational as a person. She's done it all, and she established this award that's coming up with the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, which I have to tell you, you come to Richmond, and every time I come here, there's another delight. This is such an arts community, and it's so important because that's the soul of a community, the heart and the soul of a community. It's the emotional landscape of a culture. And every time I come back, you've made changes here that are incredible, or there's another museum to visit. And Mary Lynn Kotz is at the front of all that. And she likes to recognize an outstanding work of fiction, nonfiction, poetry, biography, or journalism, written primarily in response to a work of art. Now think about that. All of you out there that want to write a book, you can be inspired by something that already exists, and Mary Lynn understands this. She also looks for high literary quality as a creative or scholarly work. Please welcome Caprice Bragg, the Chief Strategy Officer and Deputy Director for Strategic Planning, Government and Board Relations for the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. She is going to present the Mary Lynn Kotz Award for Art in Literature.
Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to be here with you tonight to represent VMFA and to present the 2022 Mary Lynn Kotz Award for Art in Literature. Now, before I introduce the 2022 winner of the Kotz Award, I want to also add a few comments about Mary Lynn, who unfortunately was not able to join us for tonight's celebration. Mary Lynn was an author, a journalist, and a longtime contributing editor of Art News magazine. She wrote the award-winning biography of artist Robert Rauschenberg, and was the last journalist to interview Georgia O'Keeffe. In 2013, this juried award was established in her honor to recognize works that present art historical subjects in an accessible manner. This year's winning work is Chasing Me to My Grave, an artist memoir of the Jim Crow South by Winfred Rembert, as told to Erin Kelly. It won a 2022 Pulitzer Prize in Biography. Other accolades include Booklist #1 Nonfiction Book of the Year, the African American Literary Book Club #1 Nonfiction Bestseller. It was named a Best Book of the Year by NPR, Publishers Weekly, Book Page, Barnes & Noble, Hudson Booksellers, Art News, and received the Carnegie Medal of Excellence in Nonfiction on the long list. This book is the impassioned, tragic, and compelling first-person narrative of an artist's life and the dramatic events that informed the artwork that he began to create at age 51. It features 75 reproductions of Rembrandt's remarkable paintings. His paintings on carved and tooled leather have been exhibited at museums and galleries across the country and are compared to the work of Jacob Lawrence, Romare Bearden, and Horace Pippin. The stories Rembrandt tells give insight into his art and also address difficult subjects such as racial injustice, racial violence, and corruption in the justice system. Rembrandt is an engaging and powerful storyteller, and the story is ultimately a love story and a story of joy and redemption. Dr. Erin Kelly is a professor of philosophy at Tufts University and received her PhD from Harvard University and her BA from Stanford University. In addition to being the co-author of Winfried Rembrandt's Pulitzer Prize-winning memoir, Chasing Me to My Grave, an artist's memoir of the Jim Crow South, she is the author of The Limits of Blame, Rethinking Punishment and Responsibility. She writes and speaks about ethics and social justice, especially in connection with criminal law. It is my great pleasure to present this award to Erin Kelly and to Patsy Rembrandt, Rembrandt's wife of 46 years, who is here to accept the award on behalf of her husband. Please join me in welcoming Erin and Patsy to the stage to accept the Mary Lynn Kotz Award.
Fantastic. Take your time. You look so gorgeous. Take your time. Show that dress off. Come on now. Let him see it full 360. Come on now. Hello, Erin. I didn't. All right. You can give you. I have to give you your awards now. Hang on.
This is my son. This is our son.
Oh, God, he's so
This is one of
I see Erin. Here it is. Let your son hold it. Nice to meet you. Bring it
You're
in.
funny.
Here we go. All right, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. This is an incredible honor. I wish Winfried Rembrandt were here to receive this award in Virginia, in the South. Would have been just incredibly meaningful to him. Thank you all for acknowledging the importance of his life and his artwork. It's a real pleasure to be here, not only with Patsy Rembrandt, but with Winfried's son, Winfried Rembrandt Jr.
I would like to thank everyone that had the fortitude to read this book and to award it to him. His life was a struggle. And for him to achieve this great honor from you who know the world, to give him this honor, it's more than I could ever hope for him. But I know that he's in heaven and he's looking down and he's smiling. And I just want to tell him, honey, you are somebody. You are somebody. Woo! Thank you.
Beautiful. Congratulations so much, Missy. Yes, you may. Go right ahead.
I had to pull it up a little bit. Good evening. I just wanted to say my dad was a powerful man, but this here was his strength. She's a lioness, she is, and she kept her pride together, a pride of 8 children. 6 boys, 8 girls. 6, excuse me. That's the wine talking, sorry. Let me get my wine. 2 sisters, 6 boys, and she kept us together. So, thank you.
So Patsy, before Aaron, so this morning I meet up with my sisters. You know, I tease about them. They're good eggs, Mary and Pia, my older sisters. I know I look older, but that's just because I drink. But I want to say that. I just want to say, Patsy, today, when I have a book with me, the only book that didn't arrive before the event, and there was no problem that it didn't, it's there now, but I didn't get it. And it was crisscrossing me as I came down to Richmond. So my sister bought it for me last night and gave it to me, and you both had signed it. Well, I planned to go take a nap, which is why I'm a little wired. I had a couple pots of coffee because I read the book. And I'm going to tell you something. It rejiggered my plates. If you think that you have a voice that isn't heard, or you feel that you're not fulfilling your mission on this planet, please read that book, because it changes the way you view the world. And I have to say, maybe this morning I was hopeless, but I read it, and your husband's story just turned me around. I think you've done God's work with this book, and we thank you. It's just true. And we want you to keep working, keep writing, because the voice was spectacular, and you got to keep at it. All right. And coming up, listen, everybody's got their role models. So do I. And if I had to model myself after anybody in terms of artistry, beauty, humor, and energy, it would be Carol Weinstein. Yes, you may applaud her because she looks really beautiful, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, Carol's mission, now Marcus is here too, her handsome husband. I don't know if you should come up here. He might get stolen when you do. Okay, don't look at me like that. You've been to Florida with the ladies in their casseroles. Come on now. Anyway, Carol is devoted to poets. Devoted. She is not only a lover of poetry and a longtime advocate of all Virginia writers, including her lowly friend here, but her love of poetry will turn you on to poetry. If you don't read it, listen to Carol and let her guide you through. So I want to bring her up because she's going to present the award in poetry tonight. Come on up, Carol with an E, Weinstein. I told you she's gorgeous. No pressure there, Carol.
No pressure. No pressure. I just want you to know. Is this working? You can. It is. Okay. Well, it's upside down. That does not help. I did not write this. It was handed to me. I don't know half the words in here. I had to get my friend Buffy to help me pronounce them. But I'm going to do my best. Because one thing is true. I'm a poetry lover. And I don't know how that happened. Maybe my mother read to me when I was in the womb. But I have loved poetry all my life. And it seems to me it has been underappreciated. And so many people I say, when I say I love poetry, say, oh, cannot understand poetry. I've never understood that. And part of it, I think, is that people need to read it out loud and hear it to really get the beauty of it, or the grim truth of it. But I am privileged to be able to announce the winner and also tell you a little bit about those who were nominated. This year's nominees for Poetry Award probes the memories of growing up in Virginia, in Thomas Jefferson's shadow, where liberal affluence obscured and perpetuated racist aggressions, but where the poet was simultaneously steeped in cultural traditions of the American South. A poet, this is another, a poet who investigates the vacillating moral compass guiding America's and the world's experiments in democracy through topics ranging from the first Jewish ghetto in 16th century Venice to the contemporary efforts of Black Lives Matter, and a beautifully rendered defense of women who throughout the late 1800s and mid-1900s were admitted into the Southwestern Lunatic Asylum in Virginia. Some grim. The poetry finalists are Sandra Beasley for Made to Explode. Is this out there? Are you seeing renditions? Okay, good. Okay. Rita Dove for Playlist for the Apocalypse, poems. Tina Parker for Lock Her Up. And the winner is a good friend of mine, Rita Dove, for Playlist for the Apocalypse poems. And she's unable to join us, which I'm really sorry to say. She is on a tour reading her work, so that's a good thing. She was here a few months ago as part of her poetry reading at an event here at the Library of Virginia. And she was amazing. And she has a video coming up. I hope I can run down the stairs and watch it. So I think this is it. It's about to...
Good evening. I am so very sorry that I cannot be with all of you fine people in person tonight due to commitments on the other side of our continent. Truly, I am stricken because I know from attending a number of pre-pandemic Library of Virginia literary galas that these evenings are not only glamorous occasions, but also happen to be rip-roaring fun. Of course, how could it be otherwise when writers and readers join in the service and celebration of books, of reading, of broadening their horizons? Positive energy positively effervesces. My own love of libraries began, and I'm sure I'm not alone in these memories, with that first cardboard lending card a kindly librarian issued to me, a pre-teenage kid. And that love remains as fierce today as that afternoon when I schlepped that armful of borrowed books home. It's no hyperbole to say that I grew up with, in, and through libraries. And so to receive this award from the top library of the Commonwealth I call home for over 3 decades stirs up a multitude of emotions, not the least of them humility. A huge thanks to everyone at the Library of Virginia for their dedication to the treasure trove harbored within those walls. Thank you to the sponsors and other supporters of this grand place, this palace of knowledge. And deep gratitude goes out to my sister finalists for their powerful, beautiful poems. If you haven't read them yet, get yourself copies and revel in Sandra Beasley's Made to Explode and Tina Parker's Lock Her Up. Thank you for honoring Playlist for the Apocalypse with the 2022 Library of Virginia Award, for welcoming the poems in this playlist as the literary companions I had hoped they would be.
What a great Rita Dove. And for those of you who've come, listen, Rita's, she's an international treasure, and she's a Virginian. And I just think about that. I mean, she's one of the greats. Are Sandra and Tina here tonight? Sandra Beasley, are you here? Sandra, stand up. And how about Tina Parker? Look at those two. Come on now. Come on now. Now I'm going to say this. Did you ever, in your writing life, think you'd be on the list with Rita Dove? And your work, both of your work is exquisite. And here's what we say at the Library of Virginia. Once you're nominated, you're in the pool. So just keep writing your poems and you'll be back and you will win. Thank you. We got to encourage the poets, Carol. Because if poets, you're going to save us. You're the ones. Oh, whenever I turn the page to this award, I think of Emil Jenkins Sexton. Now, I think Bob is here. Bob, are you here? Where's Bob? Her husband. Bob is shy. Yeah, he's here somewhere. Okay. And I'm also, really, at this point in the evening, I'm so inebriated, I can't see people. All right. Don't you love those jokes? They work. They always work. We don't know why, but they do. Okay. Emil Jenkins Sexton, she was a gifted writer and member of the Library of Virginia Foundation Board. She went to be in heaven in 2010, which is now, that's right, 12 years ago. Can you believe it, Sandra? That's crazy. So the library named their fiction award in Emil's honor, and her energy still is here. It really very much is. So to award tonight's Emil Jenkins Sexton Fiction Award, I'd like to invite the Richmond Market President for Atlantic Union Bank, Andy Kerr, or Carr. Andy, do you say, which one do you say, Carr? Kerr. So not like the critic, Walter Carr. We say Kerr. Well, you're very handsome, and I'm relieved, so come on over.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
You're the Kevin Costner of the awards tonight. Look at you.
And a banker, too. Who would have thought that, right? You know? Thank you, Adriana. Appreciate it. As the largest regional bank based in the Commonwealth and headquartered right here in Richmond, Atlantic Union Bank is delighted to be supporting the Library of Virginia as a sponsor of this year's Library Literary Awards celebration. Tonight's nominees for the Fiction Award tell the stories of a diverse group of Charlottesville neighbors fleeing violent white supremacists as they seek refuge in Jefferson's historic plantation home. A collection of characters including a troubled boy, a young waitress, or sisters uncovering family secrets, all hovering on the brink of discovery and decision. And of a young woman running away from a committed hate crime and her troubled childhood to her estranged sister. This year's fiction finalists are Jocelyn Nicole Johnson for My Monticello, fiction. Joanna Pearson for Now You Know It All. Sherry Reynolds for The Tender Grave. We would also like to recognize our honorable mention Angel Curry for Between Tides. And the winner is Jocelyn Nicole Johnson for My Monticello, fiction.
As someone whose book came out during the pandemic, this is very exciting. I spent last year launching this debut book of fiction from my parents' basement, they're my neighbors, on Zoom. And so it's such an honor to be here in front of a group of people, and also to be nominated for this along with Joanna and Sherry, who are so kind. I got to do a Zoom with them. As someone who's made art for a really long time and whose debut fiction came out when she was 50 years old, I don't take for granted that I've created something that gets to be in the world and live with other people. I was a public school teacher for many years. And I was writing stories kind of the whole time, and this collection of stories is kind of this culmination of some of my biggest fears about the way we treat one another, about racism and social justice, and about the environment, this world on which we live, this climate crisis that we're dealing with. I think about, in writing these stories, I convince myself that how we do anything is how we do everything. The way that we treat one another, and especially whoever we consider the other, connects to how we treat our planet. And I think it's really important that we consider that, and I hope stories can be part of that, a place in how what the stories we tell ourselves really matter, and how we're going to react and how we're going to act to one another, and what the future will be. So I really, really appreciate this. Thank you so much to the judges and to the library and to all of you. I hope now I've gotten to share all my worries with you so I can sleep just a little bit better. I hope that you all worry for those characters, and that, you know, that together we create something different. Thank you.
you only did one award and you look that good. Is that your wife? Suddenly I'm Don Rickles. Is that your wife? You know, that's not bad. She's gorgeous. Did people tell him he looks like Kevin Costner? They do, don't they? A younger one. He's so embarrassed, as if you don't know you're good looking. That's what I love about handsome men, like they don't know it. He's being humble. I love it. I'm about to bring one of my favorite people up on stage, Jocelyn Nicole Johnson. Let me just tell you something about her. I want to talk about these just a little bit. Yesterday at the library, we did the Origin Project, and I did not want to ask Jocelyn to drive to come to talk to the kids, but she didn't even hesitate. She said, I'm coming. And I watched her she was transformative with these kids, our students. The Origin Project, it's a creative writing program in school. And they work on one story about their origin for the whole year, and we bring in authors. Luckily, Jocelyn was a teacher, an art teacher. But it was more than that. They got to connect her to their own experience. And my Monticello, I told her when I met her the first time, I said, Jocelyn, I said, well, that takes a lot of guts to say my Monticello. Because if you grew up in Virginia and you went on that tour over there, boy, did the story change in about 30 years, didn't it? Now, that applause was led by a former tour guide at Monticello, who now gets to tell the real story. But we would ask as students the story. When they say this was made by James Hemings, we'd say, well, is that related to, how did that, right? And then you open up the history, and when you open up the history, then you can have some change when you tell the truth. So please read it. It's fiction, but it's heartbreaking, and you will also laugh. There's a lot of humor in it. Joanna Pearson's Now You Know It All, great. Sherry Reynolds, The Tender Grave. Is Sherry here? Where's Sherry? Sherry, stand up. Joanna Pearson, are you here? Is Joanna Pearson here? Look at Joanna. Look at those high energy young women. They will be back here another year, believe me. Is Angel Curry here? Is Angel here is she here between tides? Angel? If I had the name Angel Curry, I would be singing right now. I'd be in a club. No, I would be. I'd be in a club and I'd be a movie star. Angel Curry. All right, get ready, because now we're going into the nonfiction. So I would like to call to the stage one of my favorite people of all time. Also, he's a foundation board member and the co-chair of the Literary Awards. Very proud of that. Joseph, you could have gotten a better table for all the work you did on this. Joseph Papa. I mean, he was all the way back, or Papa, however you like to say it, but he's Greek. Here he is. Joseph, why are you so far back? Oh.
Lord. Hi.
We're good.
I know. Because of you. Could we have a better cheerleader for Virginia authors than Adriana? I mean... No, it is necessary. You're wonderful. You're always such a treat. So thank you. Thank you for being here. And Patsy Rembert, I want to say you are somebody too. I know you said it to your husband, but it's your words last night and your words tonight were so remarkable. And it's we're all it's such a privilege to be here with you. So thank you for being here. I have the privilege of presenting the Nonfiction Award. There are 3 titles nominated. And combined, they cover over 4 centuries of both America's and Virginia's history. These talented writers have written about such topics as the troubling epidemic of school shootings in America and a critical call to embrace political reforms that would save thousands of young lives. Another book focuses on Union peacekeeping and Confederate chaos in the weeks following Lee's surrender at Appomattox. He lost, by the way. Some people don't know. It seems they didn't write that for me. That was my own. I might not be on the board next year. And a third book that chronicles the miraculous rise of one of America's first celebrities, whose story was nearly lost to history. This year's finalists for the Nonfiction Prize are John Woodrow Cox for Children Under Fire, An American Crisis, Carolyn Eastman for The Strange Genius of Mr. O, the world of the United States' first forgotten celebrity. I said stateses, that's not a word. They put me too late in the evening. I've already had my wine. And Carolyn Janney for Ends of War, the unfinished fight for Lee's army after the Appomattox. The winner for this year's nonfiction prize is Carolyn Eastman for The Strange Genius of Mr. O, the world of the United States' first forgotten celebrity.
Thank you so much. I had to write down the words that I was going to say to thank you, because what I want to do is talk about how important the humanities are tonight. I especially, wanted to thank a number of people, including my parents who were not able to come tonight, but also my beloved partner, Kevin, who hates these kinds of occasions, but he's here anyway. But we humanists don't make very much money. Political figures mock us for writing books that nobody wants to read. But the thing is that we keep writing, we keep demonstrating our curiosity about the past, about people. We keep writing narratives about people, trying to draw readers into the kind of curiosity that we have about the world. And, my path in writing this book was really smoothed by a number of generous friends and readers who knew that when I wrote my book, that I would also reciprocate when they were writing their books. People like Catherine Ingracia, who's here tonight, my partner Kevin, and others. And so I think that what makes me so grateful about this prize is that the Library of Virginia has ultimately created tonight a celebration of the humanities to remind us how powerful it is and how powerfully human it is to read poetry, to read narratives that introduce us to ideas and feelings. Thank you so much for this award, but most of all, thank you for the way that you have put the humanities front and center on display tonight. Thank you.
So Carolyn, I was just sitting in her ear. It's a masterwork, really. It's a masterwork. And John Woodrow Cox, Children Under Fire, phenomenal. Carolyn, beautiful speech about the humanities. We need to hear that maybe every morning, and I'm glad we're taping it because we can now. And Caroline E. Janney for The Ends of War, the unfinished fight of Lee's army after Appomattox. Are you here, Caroline? Are you here? Okay. Where is she? Is she back there? It's so much fun to be up here and just scan the crowd. And the look of panic that goes over your face is every time I ask if somebody's here. You just go, we don't know. I'm sitting up here and I'm thinking about Virginia, and I think back really on, where you learn to read and who recommended books to you on the bookmobile. Since I was here last, our bookmobile librarian, he's gone to be in heaven too, James Varner, Wise County Bookmobile. We were the last stop on his route, so really all that was left anytime we were on there was Treasure Island and Heidi, so you better want to read them again. So I'd always say to him, Mr. Varner, can't you come down here first so we get a better selection? And he said, we got what we got. And anytime I went down home, I saw him. He'd show up. That's the connection we have to the library. And leadership matters. You know, is Robin Belials here? Where's Robin? Oh, Robin, stand up. This is Governor Jerry Belial's better half here. And Robin, we keep him alive. We talk about him all the time because he was a huge champion for the humanities. So, and we think of him often. Oh, yes, he loved the Library of Virginia. Big, big, big for him. But see, you put your effort in, and here we are, right? So you don't give up. Why'd I say that? Is anybody giving up? I don't think so. This is a very, very robust crowd. Okay, now get ready for this. To introduce tonight's honoree, I'm thrilled and honored to welcome another Library of Virginia board member. See, we're trotting out the good-looking ones so that you know that the meetings are very high energy and high octane. It's, okay, well, this scares me, but okay, Blythe A. Scott, Norfolk's Commissioner of Revenue. So I hope everybody's got their taxes up to snuff, because Blythe is checking phones on the way out. I'm just telling you now. And she and Andy know where the bodies are buried because he's handling the banking. So come on up, Blythe. Oh, I love your outfit. Come on up.
Jokes are landing.
You never can tell.
Adriana, thank you so much. You know, when you come on a stage like this, they had to have a pandemic to keep me away from you. I was only allowed to be on Zoom with her during the pandemic as chair of the board.
And it doesn't compare, does it, to this?
Not to this, no, not at all. Well, thank you so much, honored guests. It's wonderful to be here. Friends of the library, the librarian of the state of the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm always honored to be in your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce someone who needs no introduction. Katie Couric is an award-winning journalist and New York Times #1 best-selling author of her memoir, Going There, which was published in October of 2021. She is a native Virginian, born in Arlington, and a proud graduate of the University of Virginia. Ms. Couric was the first woman to solo and anchor a network evening newscast, and serving as anchor and managing editor of the CBS Evening News from 2006 to 2011, following 15 years as co-anchor of NBC's Today Show. She also hosted a syndicated show and served as the Yahoo Global News anchor until 2017. She is the recipient of the Alfred I. DuPont Columbia University Award, the Walter Cronkite Award, 2 Edward R. Murrow Awards, a Peabody Award, and multiple Emmys. She was twice named one of Times Magazine's 100 Most Influential People and was a Glamour Magazine Woman of the Year 3 times. I just think that's fantastic. Couric has also received numerous awards for her cancer prevention and treatment advocacy work and has been honored by both the Harvard and Columbia Schools of Public Health, the American Cancer Society, and the American Association of Cancer Researchers. In 2017, she founded Katie Couric Media, which has developed a number of media projects, including a daily newsletter, a podcast, digital video series, and several documentaries. KCM works with purpose-driven brands to create premium content that addresses important social issues like gender equality, environmental sustainability, and mental health. She is also a co-founder of Stand Up to Cancer. Since its launch in 2008, Stand Up to Cancer has raised more than $700 million to support cutting-edge, collaborative science, and its research has contributed to 9 new FDA-approved therapies. In addition to going there, Kirk is also the author of 2 children's books and The Best Advice I Ever Got: Lessons from Extraordinary Lives. Tonight, we honor Katie Couric's incredible impact on journalism and literature. Unfortunately, Ms. Couric could not be here tonight to join us, but she was able to send us this video message.
Hi everyone, Katie Couric here. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to the Library of Virginia and the Literary Awards Committee for bestowing upon me this great honor. It's thrilling for me to be recognized by my home state, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I wish I could be there to celebrate with all of the honorees. Libraries are so critically important. I can't tell you how many people came up to me and told me they were checking out my book from their neighborhood library, or they were on the waiting list, or they put the book on reserve. So libraries mean so much to people who love to read, who want to read, and want to have access to all the great literature out there. I'm not sure if you'd call my book great literature, but hey, it was kind of fun to read, right? Anyway, thank you all again, and again, congratulations to everybody there. Wish I could be there, but I hope you have a wonderful time.
Thank you, Katie. That's exciting. All right now. No, I'm serious, it is. You know, well, we would like to have had her here in person, but she had something. But we kind of made her promise she'd come another year, so get those tables booked. All right. We're going to welcome the chair up here. There's something I wanted to tell you, but I'll bring it around full circle. You know me. It's a little bit jazzy. You know, I just try to throw out those little, breadcrumbs, and then it'll all come full circle. But first, well, we have a special, listen, just get ready, because this is going to be great. Okay, you're going to meet Michael Twitty. I mean, I am so crazy about him, there's no words. Okay, but you'll see. I would like, in order to introduce tonight's featured speaker, we only have one, Sandy, only one person left I haven't introduced from the board, right? Well, this is it, right? Or do we have more people on the board? Oh, there's more people on the board. My goodness, a lot goes into this evening. Okay, to introduce tonight's featured speaker, let's bring him on up. Library of Virginia Board Chair, Paul Brockwell. Come on up, Paul. Now look at Paul. Another handsome devil. Get up here. Hello, Paul. Paul, are you having fun?
Thank you. I'm going to come see her every day. Blythe, you are such a tough act to follow, always, and tonight is no exception to that rule. So thank you for all the joy that you bring everything we do here at the library. And thank you, Adri, for all your efforts tonight. It is my distinct honor to introduce our featured speaker tonight, Michael W. Twitty, who is a renowned culinary historian and food writer from the Washington, D.C. area. He created Afroculinaria.com to publish his research and essays on the culinary traditions of Africa and the African diaspora. His expertise is often in demand. He was a recent special guest on Michelle Obama's Waffles and Mochi show on Netflix. He can also be found on Masterclass online, where he teaches tracing your roots through food. In the past, he has appeared on Bizarre Foods America with Andrew Zimmern, Many Rivers to Cross with Henry Louis Gates, and most recently on Taste the Nation with top chefs Padma Lakshmi. In 2017, Twitty was the inaugural recipient of the Colonial Williamsburg's Revolutionaries in Residence program and was an invaluable expert for the historical site as it worked to build a more inclusive understanding and interpretation of life in Virginia's 18th century capital. His critically acclaimed book, The Cooking Gene, traces his ancestry through food from Africa to America and from slavery to freedom. The Cooking Gene won numerous honors, including the 2018 James Beard Foundation Award for Writing, as well as their Book of the Year, making him the first Black author so honored. His essay on visiting Ghana in Bon Appetit was included in the Best Food Writing for 2019 and was nominated for a 2019 James Beard Award. Twitty also launched a popular line of spices based on the Cooking Gene. His 2021 cookbook, Rice, explored that staple's ingrained role in Southern cuisine and was named one of the best cookbooks of the year by the New York Times. And his most recent book, Kosher Soul, released in August and explores the cultural crossroads of Jewish and African diaspora cuisine and issues of memory, identity, and food. The question that most intrigues Mr. Twitty is not just who makes the food, but also how that food shapes people and their cultures. It is a joy to welcome him back to the Library of Virginia. And Michael, I want to take a moment to thank you for the gift of your scholarship, for helping to broaden our understanding of how the history of our food is intricately woven into the history of our country. Your enduring works have inspired many for the ways they bring people together and cultures around food to engage in crucial conversations about the shared history and systems that can drive people apart. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Michael Twitty.
We've been waiting for you, Michael. We've been waiting for you. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, so I get to follow the alcohol and the food, great. So it's a real honor to be here, mostly because, and I'll tell you in a minute why. Books are transformative. Books and what they have to tell us are magic. I didn't know that. I know Sandra Beasley was recognized. She gave me a beautiful book of her poems several years ago. And of course, Rita Dove. I want you to know something. I think I was about 15, 16 years old when I got selected poems as a present from my mom. And in that book is a collection, Thomas and Beulah, which, if you've never read it, is this epic poetry about a black couple, about black love, and about a black family. And anything about the black family and its endurance and its empowerment has always excited me. I am 45 years old, but when I was 10 or 11, my father, who passed away this year, blessed memory, brought me to the Library of Virginia on a mission to find our ancestors. And at that time, there was another book that captivated me. And it began with the words, 124 was spiteful, full of a baby's venom. The women in the house knew it, and so did the children. And it goes on to talk about how Howard and Bugler run away and the dog is hurt. And there is this spirit that hovers over this family, that haunts them, that desperately wants its love and attention, but for lack of being able to live incarnate, can't get it otherwise. That amazing, beautiful, perfect book was Beloved. You can clap. I didn't come here for dessert. I came here to preach. Yes, black Jews can preach. Kanye. We don't need him. We don't, like Mariah Carey said, we don't know her. But I say that because, and I'm going to let the implication and the subtlety do the work. I say that because that book didn't give me no nightmares. It gave me a dream and a vision that I could follow in the steps of a Rita Dove or Toni Morrison or Alice Walker a James Baldwin, a Richard Wright, a LeVar Burton. Let's give it up for him. I've met the man, and I gotta tell you, the first thing I said to him was, number one, thank you for playing our generic eponymous ancestor, but also thank you for telling little black boys that reading was cool and that we could write books and read books and be in conjunction. Now I have 4,000 books. I blame LeVar Burton. But I'm here in this space because my father, so many years ago, drove me all the way to Richmond to look up my mom's ancestors, and eventually I'd find both his and her ancestors in the records of this building. And it's every time I pass the railway station and I look at the Devil's Half Acre, I give honor to both sides of my family, part of which departed from that area to other parts of the South, and my folks who were along the James River in Prince Edward County, in Amelia County, in Buckingham, in Appomattox County, which, by the way, I can't be here without telling you the ultimate story about how my great-great-grandfather had the first horsejacking at the surrender of Lee. He and his brother were 15 and 17 years old. They found out right then and there that they were free and immediately took the horse for a little joyride and told everybody that they were free. And that is a badge of honor to me. That and the fact that my great-great-grandfather was himself a man of many talents. You know, my Virginia kin always said the words, know how to do everything. That was their way. Know how to barn tobacco. Know how to take care of your chickens and your hogs. Know how to, harvest sweet potatoes in the fall and make apple butter in the same. But my great-great-grandfather was a cook and a tradesman and a craftsman, and he taught himself how to read and write and taught all of his wives and children how to read and write, and thought that was a positive value, an important value, to the point where he named one of his children Booker T, after the man he admired who didn't grow up very far from where he grew up in Virginia. I say all this to say that I want everyone to keep on encouraging people to read, to put their stories down. The stories that I found here many, many years ago, that I tracked and traced for 20-some years, became The Cooking Gene, a book where, if you're in the writing business, it's hard sometimes to sell stories of marginalized and oppressed people because you're often told how those stories won't sell, no one wants to see them, no one wants to hear them, no one cares, or that there just isn't that same audience for those stories. Well, I'm here to tell you right now that I am so proud to be the descendant of African Virginians going back to the 18th and 17th century who can now stand a stage in Richmond as a free man of color who can read and write his own name, and who wrote a book, more than one book, chronicling their lives and making sure the world never forgets who they were, because they were the builders of this nation. They were the African founding fathers and mothers, and I don't want that light to go out. So for me to stand in front of you in this space, this very sacred space to me, other people have Ellis Island. I have the James River. Other people have spaces where they look up at a statue. I look out at lonely coasts in Virginia and in Charleston and in New Orleans for my American point of origin. But this is my American story, and this is all of our American story. Virginia is no longer just the salt and pepper place. It is Korean and Afghani, it is Latino, and it is indigenous. And we all have stories to tell, whether we tell those stories in Vietnamese or in Ebonics or in whatever tongue we please. We are Scots-Irish, we are British, we are German. We are all the above and a mixture of everything I just said. And because of that, because of the importance of our narratives and our lives and the lessons we have to learn from them, I want you to encourage people to keep on recording their stories, recording their recipes, because recipes are biographies too. Recipes are connections too. It's not just about the food, it's about the people who create the food and how that food made the people they are. That's why we do what we do. We write in the hopes of beating back mortality. We write in the hopes of honoring those who came before us who could not write down their stories. Generations of women, generations of disabled people whose stories were not told the way they needed to be told. We write because the future needs to know and have a blueprint for what it is about to experience and what it will experience if we've never have had the mettle to know. So with that, I don't want to carry on, but I do want to say thank you for this honor of being able to stay and stand in this place where many years ago I had the pipe dream of finding out where I came from and what my American story was. And I want to thank you for honoring so many fantastic poets and historians. I was admiring the fact that Joshua Rothman was on the roster, and so many others, people who I admire, Jocelyn Johnson and many others who just keep on turning that Rubik's Cube around and telling different stories and making magic out of it. This is a very special place, Virginia. I don't care what they say in the rest of the country. Virginia is where everybody has an ancestor, everybody's story started, and it's a place where if you go from the Eastern Shore to the Blue Ridge, all the way to Ewing, you realize, it tripped me out when I found out Ewing was further west in Detroit. It's like, imagine had Virginia stayed Virginia, West Virginia, and Kentucky and Tennessee. You think we have problems now? I kid. But I'm proud to say that I'm now a citizen of the Commonwealth of Virginia, as so many of my ancestors were, some of my family still is. And I'm proud to say that I share this land and this space with you. Thank you.
You know, you sort of have this wish sometimes when you meet somebody like Michael Twitty and you think, and he tells his story, and you say to yourself, geez, if I could have met his great-great-grandfather. Published author, highly esteemed, beloved. And you say, oh, he's the first person in his family to write a book. The only difference is, his father brought him to the library, and he had the opportunity, and look what he did with it. And it just tells us, Michael, that your great-greats and your great-great-great-great-greats were also writers and artists. They just didn't get the opportunity. Because you are them. You are them. Thank you. Could we tonight, before I let you go, just a couple of things. I want to thank Scott Dodson. I don't know where he is, Scott. Could you stand up, please? He's worked very hard. He did a beautiful job, and that's a real tuxedo, and I wanted to call attention to that. Oh, okay. And to Sandy Treadway, could you stand up too, Sandy? Please. Yes, you must. Okay. This is the queen. And her spirit hovers over every library in this state, and she's elegant, and you could see she's beautiful, and she's funny, and she's smart, and she doesn't get any credit, and we're giving it to her tonight, Sandy Treadway. Come on now. Could we please have the servers come out? Can the people who served us this gorgeous meal come out? Come on out. Where are the servers? Thank you, officer. Thank you. Please fetch everybody. No, we got to give them a standing ovation. You know, they took the biggest hit during COVID, and they couldn't work. Now they're back at it. They're coming out. Don't worry. They might be back there smoking, but they'll come out. They're coming. Stay on your feet. Here they come. All right. All right. There they are. They're in school. They've got kids. They're supporting their families. And they served you the most gorgeous meal. Come on now. Gorgeous. Beautiful. There we go. Come on now. All right. Look at all our food prep. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. Thank you so much. Beautiful evening due to you. Now, there's one more group. Look, you sit and relax. Where are you going to go? There's nothing else going on tonight. So tonight, when I was sitting back there kind of going through my routine, I was in a room with Lieutenant Josh Duncan. Is he back there, Lieutenant Duncan? Because all of a sudden, and where is Sergeant Diane Dowdy? Is she in the room? Where's Sergeant Diane? Okay, let me just say this. Do you, as I do now, I always was grateful. But these are your Capitol Police. Okay? Let's show them some love. I don't know where Josh is. Capitol Police. Lieutenant Duncan, Sergeant Dowdy. Keeping us safe, keeping us here, keeping us free. And also, they're very funny. I don't know where they get that, but we may be seeing some people in uniform, you know. And before I let you go tonight, here's what I want you to think about. We've given you a lot of food for thought tonight, not me, these beautiful writers. The number one thing you can do, support your local library and support the Library of Virginia. In whatever way you can, we need you. We need you. And if you happen to have a rich aunt who doesn't, you know, she's just going to leave you the jewelry, give the rest, kick into the Library of Virginia once, you know. Where else is it going to go? What else do we need? The library needs us. And I found out that this group tonight was kind of the most generous in history. We sold more tables tonight than we ever have, and that's due to you. And I don't think it's just because you were getting a little buggy with the COVID. I don't think that's it. I think it's your big hearts. And we thank you, and we'll see you here next year with and if you didn't win this year, you'll win. You just got to stay at it. If you need a little encouragement, just call Scott Dodson, and he'll encourage you, as I will. And we thank you, we love you, and good night. And if all the winners can come up here, we're going to get a picture. And the nominees, everybody.